Yeah, I'm just finishing up my 1917 Henderson custom that I've been working on for a few months now. This is kind of the general direction I'm taking all my customs into the next 5-10 years, my future basically. Taking old vintage motorcycle engines and customizing them and building really cool early period style racing type motorcycles that are street legal out of them. 91 years old, runs great, getting ready to take it to a show and carry some trophies home. I've been collecting vintage motorcycles for a while, and really for the last year and a half, 2 years, I've been buying up as much vintage stuff as I can find, really trying to find the rare exotic pieces that most people haven't even heard of, and putting them into my collection so that as I want to build a new bike, I can just pull an engine from my shelf and build a bike around that engine. This is a 1917 Henderson 4-cylinder engine. Henderson was like the Rolls-Royce of its day. The motorcycle was more expensive than a Model T Ford. So they were really for the wealthy, but typical motorcycles of the period were 1 and 2 cylinders, and they vibrated a lot. They didn't make a whole lot of horsepower. The 4-cylinder was really smooth, really quiet, made great horsepower. And I've taken this engine off a farm in Michigan and built a whole motorcycle around it. I made everything on the bike. The engine was initially put into an airplane. In the 20s and 30s, aviation became real popular in the States, and so you could buy an airplane kit to put a Henderson engine in because the Henderson engine was so reliable. And they cut the transmission off of it, which is great for an airplane, but it's not good for a motorcycle. So to be able to put it back into a motorcycle, I got a vintage BMW transmission, and as you can see, the Henderson 4-cylinder, the shaft and the engine and the motorcycle runs north and south versus east and west, so you have to have a transmission with that type of shaft, which a BMW does happen to have. So got the BMW tranny in it, which comes with a shaft drive. So in order to make the shaft drive work, I had to fabricate a drive line for it and use a Yamaha Virago rear shaft drive. I built the frame, built the gas tank, vintage Indian front end from the early 1920s. The Henderson is supposed to have 4 short exhaust pipes that run into a big, long, straight exhaust. And because the transmission I put in here is so big and it's offset to one side, I can't use the factory exhaust. So I actually made these exhaust pipes here, and I'm notorious for using old junk. And the header pipes are actually ape hanger handlebars that I cut, and I just welded them together and merged them into some 1 3/4 inch automotive exhaust tubing. So I made some. They're almost kind of like drag boat style pipes. I kind of stole a style from them, but it gives it a really neat sound. And this engine was only designed to go about 20 to 30 miles an hour. It wasn't really meant to go faster than that. But with this transmission and the rear drive line and some of the things I'm doing to it, I'm going to be able to drive this bike 60, 70 miles an hour on the highway and probably get a top speed of in the neighborhood of 100 miles an hour plus on it. I had to fabricate virtually everything on this bike to make it something you can actually ride on the street again. This bike's about 90% done now. I just have some pieces out at the polishing shop that need to be finished up that I wanted to have repolished. It already does run. I'm ready to take it out and really put some miles on it and ride it. I'll have it Daytona Bike Week, and this will be what I'll be riding around Daytona on. So I think I'm going to really blow some people's minds with something that's so new and fresh and different, and that's what the bike industry needs. When you get to be successful and have the kind of mass appeal that I've had, people always try and knock you and say, well, he doesn't really do the work, or Billy's not behind that, he's got people doing this or people doing that. And certainly people have tried to say that they do my work, but I do all this myself. I work in the shop by myself. Luckily, I don't have the burden of needing to make things at lightning fast speed to be able to make a living out of them. People appreciate what I do so much that they're willing to pay for my time to do it the slow, old-fashioned way. And at the end of the day, they get something that's one of a kind, handmade by Billy Lane. I mean, there's some things that when people see it, they're going to kind of know, wow, that looks like something Billy would do. I mean, when I see one of my bikes, when I see somebody riding one of my bikes at a bike event You know, wherever I'm at or at a show, I instantly recognize it as mine, and that's pretty neat to have. You know, it's almost like when you see a can of Coke from across the room with that white stripe down the side of the can, you know it's a Coke. And kind of building that kind of character into these bikes. Hey, I'm Billy Lane. Check out what's going on at Choppers Inc. at choppersinc.com.